Methods for Teachers focus, recently we have been thoroughly analysing and discussing various videos published on the site regarding illustrations of practice.
In today's special episode, we'll be analysing Motivating Learners, a video which features Jessica Radlin, a teacher from Peel Development Primary School in Perth.
The school is a language inclusive school, so we deal with different types of language abilities, and students come to this school because they have a delay in one of the areas of language.
The school exclusively caters for students with a specific language impairment, meaning all students' academic and social performance are limited by delayed or disordered language development.
We have picked 3 questions from our viewers to answer today regarding the pedagogy Jessica has constructed in her video, and we'll be answering these in relation to key education theorists Patricia Hinchy and Joe Kinchelow, as well as some influential pedagogical frameworks that have been significant in the Australian education, such as the principles of learning and teaching and productive pedagogies.
Hi Maddie, Natalie, Andrea and Molly. I'm a VCE English teacher and a big fan of your show. My question is, what do you believe is highlighted or emphasised in terms of good pedagogy in the video?
So thanks for the query. What a great way to begin question time on such a positive note. Which one of you ladies would like to begin answering the question?
I will. To me, it is great to see critical pedagogy being emphasised in the video. Kinchelow argues that the idea of critical pedagogy is key in gaining good pedagogical practice. Critical pedagogy is a means of eradicating differences between students, creating a just and equitable schooling environment. Teachers who adopt a critical pedagogy can identify the means of difference between students and feel empowered in order to eradicate this.
To add, critical pedagogy is about realising and appreciating education's role in all students' lives, regardless of social dynamics. Social dynamics comes into play with this video because Jessica's school has a population of students with diverse capabilities due to it being a specialised school, cultures and financial backgrounds. The most recent recorded data shown on the My School website demonstrates that the school has a lower than average school index of community socio-educational advantage, with 67% of students distributed amongst the bottom quarter and only 1% in the top. In addition, in 2014 there was an Indigenous population of 9% attending the school. In accordance with productive pedagogies, Jessica incorporates recognition of difference and supportive classroom environment practices by instilling a strong sense of community in her classroom, where students' diverse backgrounds, experiences and abilities are valued and acknowledged.
In addition, the video demonstrates critical pedagogy in the form of all students being accepted, given the school is specialising in supporting language difficulty and therefore was not deemed socially constructed. This is highly supportive of Kinchelow's perspective on human suffering, how critical pedagogy is grounded on the concern that human oppression should be eradicated and can be done so within a learning environment.
I'd also like to add that Jessica does a great job incorporating group work into her lessons. Hinchy offers insight into the significance of group work and how it assists in communication skills.
They can actually work with each other in a group, they can support and they can scaffold their learning with each other. So you get some kids that are very independent and want to help other children learn in the classroom, and it's a fantastic way to scaffold the learning.
So Jessica encourages students to work together, scaffolding the learning to empower students to achieve and help one another. Although the students have different classroom groups according to the level they are at, there appears to be no discrimination or feelings of failure within this setting.
That's a really great analysis. I personally would like to applaud the way Jessica adopts the constructivist method in her teaching approach. A constructivist teacher aids in designing experiences which enable students to develop their own understanding of the data. This is evident in Jessica's teaching as she encourages her students to make mistakes in order for them to learn from them. Another way that learning can be made memorable and understandable.
And encourage them to make mistakes and learn from these mistakes.
This is also a great way to build confidence in her students and build a positive classroom culture. Furthermore, Hinchy outlines that constructivist teachers are focused on the process, not the product. And this is demonstrated in Jessica's class when she helps her students who are overstimulated to become centred by learning by a step-by-step process So for example, legs crossed, arms in laps, and then the lesson begins.
Side to side. Some kids are very overstimulated with the environment. I'm like whales. And it's about centering them and getting them to sit on the ground to start with. Well, once they have mastered sitting on the ground, then we might work on things like keeping your hands and feet to yourself. No, you're a beautiful whale. Sitting up straight. And once they have got this, then we're ready to start our learning.
I'd also like to discuss the principles of learning and teaching, otherwise known as POLT, a teaching resource that the Department of Education and Training has created to help build consistent, comprehensive and improved pedagogical approaches within and across schools. Many would agree that Jessica uses POLT to reflect on her own teaching practices and outlines how and what she uses to support her students' learning. In the video, Jessica demonstrates several great pedagogy practices. One of these practices is her planning and assessment technique. This links with Principle 5. Assessment practices are an integral part of teaching and learning. Jessica outlines that when planning a lesson or an assessment task, she looks at the students' individual goals and targets them towards the Australian curriculum.
When I'm planning for a lesson or an assessment, I can have a look at the students' goals and then target them towards the Australian curriculum as well and incorporate them into the lesson and the outcomes I'd like achieved.
This corresponds with 5.5. The teacher uses evidence from assessment to inform planning and teaching. As stated, this component requires the use of formative assessment to provide information for the teacher to adjust tasks and strategies. This ensures that the teaching and learning programs are responsive to student learning needs and builds on prior knowledge and skills. Jessica demonstrates this in the video as she uses several strategies to help plan the students' assessment and groups them accordingly.
Hi girls, my name is Rose, and as a primary school teacher at a specific language impairment school myself, I believe Jessica is doing a great job, but there are some things missing from the video, or done quite differently to how my school does things. What do you think is silenced or missing in terms of good pedagogy presented in the video?
That's a great question. Thanks, Rose. Girls, what do you think?
So my largest concern with Jessica's teaching is that she openly expresses how she wouldn't set tasks which may be too difficult for her students, or in other words, challenge them.
I wouldn't do an activity that is too hard for a student. I believe that all students need to have a success and achievement.
Although I acknowledge that POLT is only a set of guidelines for teachers to consider, Jessica's method of approach here does not correspond with Principle 4 whatsoever. Students are challenged and supported to develop deep levels of thinking and application. I'm worried that Jessica's way of creating success in the classroom by setting easy work is in fact limiting her students, as she is not attempting to extend their understanding in any way, so it seems. Jessica's mindset is that for her students to feel success, the activities or work that they are doing must be appropriate to their learning ability. I think many would agree that giving students a challenge is often a good thing, as it enables students to work towards something, to improve themselves and set goals for their future learning. I strongly believe that this is a major technique which is missing in Jessica's pedagogy.
I see where you're coming from. However, you've got to remember that these students are attending a specialised language school. We do not want to be discouraging these students at a young age.
So moving on, girls. The second principle in POLT is focus on students and developing their independence, interdependence and self-motivation. It appears as though Jessica's teaching approach is teacher-centred rather than student-centred, as Jessica tends to be the main focus of the lessons, while the students mostly observe or listen. Despite the small class size or the fact that Jessica does mention how she encourages and supports her students, some students may become dependent on her for their own learning as a result of this. Despite there being many benefits of teacher-centred learning, it can also discourage students from expressing themselves within a classroom environment, which can have negative implications for their learning as well as their personal development.
Hello, I'm studying primary school teaching at Deakin University and watch your show every week. I would like to ask you girls, what have you all learned about pedagogy and pedagogic planning for primary classrooms from analysing this video?
Thanks for the question. Great to see you're studying teaching. Jessica's video has made me learn that every classroom is different. I found it really interesting how Jessica caters her teaching. to her school, as the school is for her students who have a language delay, so she makes language a priority in her lessons. Her teaching is highly concentrated on language development, which impacts what and how the students learn. According to Hinchy, being immersed in a culture consequently affects our imagination. The effect that this has on teachers' understanding of knowledge can vary depending on their assumptions and beliefs, which can ultimately shape what is taught inside the classroom as it shapes Jessica's.
I'd like to add that Jessica has also emphasised to me how incorporating crafts in the classroom is more than just about filling in time or doing a fun activity. In accordance with POLT, Jessica demonstrates how craft activities support deep levels of thinking and build on students' prior experiences, knowledge and skills. Jessica gets the students to do craft activities as a way of introducing lessons to engage students in learning, in particular when they are learning about animals. This enables Jessica to get her students engaged from the beginning by making it meaningful to the students before completing other learning activities. Jessica also uses craft to foster imagination and creativity, which makes it exciting for her students and therefore motivates them.
We're learning about sharks, and when we introduce a new animal, it's always very exciting because we do the things to make it exciting. We do a craft or we do an animal description. We engage them in the learning.
In summary, as we have just seen, Jessica's pedagogy and pedagogical planning is of a high standard and meets with many of the principles of learning and teaching and productive pedagogies. It also reflects many of the views from Hinchy and Cantoli and their perceptions of pedagogy. Overall, Jessica's teaching style is well suited for the learning needs of her students, and her confident teaching style provides the support and encouragement that her students need.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.